දැන් තියෙනවානේ. ඒක ඕනේ කියලා මම එන ප්‍රතිවේක්ෂා නිමිත්ත මොනවට තණ්හාගත්තේ මම ඒක කරලා මොනවට මෙහි කරන්නේ මොනවට බලන්නද පඤ්ඤාවෙන් ඒකට පිළිගන්න ලැබෙන්නේ ඒකට දැන් නිමිත්ත කියලා කියන්නේ ආනාපානේ
අර ඒකේ
ඔය ආනාපාන චුට්ටේ කියලා තියෙන්නේ
අර තුන්වෙනි හතරවෙනි ඥානය අච්චර විස්තර අවශ්‍ය නැහැ මේක විතරයි. So is it on now?
Yes.
So this is continuation on the other day. So there was this sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya book of fives, and we stopped at the third jhana. So there were like some discussion about some points to do with concentration, and it was the noble Samma Samadhi, Arya Samma Samadhi. So the first four things mentioned were to basically the standard definition of the jhanas, but the last one was somewhat special and different, so Lokam wants to talk about that first.
Oh, then api me dengan apa ni usma balap menu usma gannawa. Mana kata kata mana yoga te yoga te kata mana dah usma gannawa usma gata pita galai dan kerana api tanah ya.
So when we watch, let's say, the breath, we like now, then it's in breathing, now in breath finished, now it's out breathing. So that yoga is not like that, it's us that do it that way.
And yeah, ni kami then me ulu venat, ama venat ni, sewa nika.
So like Lokamdu is different to the audience, and the audience to Lokamdu. So the So like that, there was the difference between us and that yogi.
Now, okay, then me japi kahagatiya balan me. Ewa yutama ega me niwit dia balan. Kahagatiya kalada to vena me ka. Mama vena me ka kuage. Kahagatiya ahag mage mama hadagat dia. Mama vena නිපදවපු එකක් කියලා නිමිත්ත ගැන කල්පනාවක් නැහැ. දැන් මේ ඇඟිලි තියෙන්නේ. ඇඟිලි ගැන කල්පනාවක් නැහැ. ඇහැ තියෙනවා කල්පනාවක් නැහැ. තියෙනවා කියන්නේ ඒ වගේ තමයි ආරමුණ.
අර නිමිත්ත ගැන කතා. Okay. So like we don't think about like our like what we see, we don't think about that really, or our fingers or our eye. So I think what Lokam was trying to say talk about is this nimitta, or the sign of the concentration, because many people they have like idea it is something that needs to like be created or something like that. But Lokam says like you don't have to think about your fingers, they are just there, or like your eye itself is just there, you don't need to do anything special about that.
Then body or packet kamathi.
Do you like your tattoo or not?
I already explained I want to.
Anna naegane pathi naegana. I know kamathi ne.
So anyway, so let's say you don't like it now.
I don't.
I don't like.
I want to remove.
Then you know then me kate තියෙනවා.
But it's there.
Yes.
Then එහෙමත් නෙවෙයි කියන්නේ.
So then Lokam is trying to make kind of point about this nimitta and things like that.
නිමිත්ත ගත්තෙන් පස්සේ ඒක නිමිත්ත මේ නිමිත්තක් තියෙනවද නැද්ද ආරම්භය ඒ කතා නැහැ. ඉතින් මේ අත තියෙනවනේ. අත තියෙනවනේ.
So Lokam says it's like for the yogi that the nimitta is there, so okay. Something like this.
එයා මෙයාද කියලා හිතනද මෙතෙන් කියනවා.
So like it then he does not have to think, or is there the nimitta there or not, because it's like your arm or your tattoo. Whether you think about it or not, it's there, something like this.
ඒකේ කරදර නැහැ මොනවාක්වත්.
So and the person is not troubled by that at all.
මේ කාලේ භාවනා කරන යෝගින් තේක කරදරයි කියලා ඒක තියෙනවා.
So these days people have kind of mental aberrations from different sources, thinking like I should get the nimitta, is there the nimitta, this is the something going to do with the nimitta, or the nimitta is causing me trouble, all these kind of things.
නිමිත්තේ පාත්‍රයේ තියෙනවනේ නේද?
Oh.
දැන් මේ තියෙනවා.
Oh, කුටියේ තියෙනවා.
කුටියේ තියෙනවා. ඒ මිනිත්තු කුටියේ පාත්‍රයේ තියෙන බව දන්නවා.
So like Lokam asked me, so Vinita, do you have a monk's pole? And I said yes. So it's there in my kuti. So like that's like you don't have any issues, or because like you just have it in your kuti.
ඒක දානවන්ද මිත්‍රේ ගන්න.
So then when you need to use it for meals, you just take it when you need it and use it. So it's something like.
නිමිත්ත තියෙනවා පාත්‍රයේ තියෙනවා කියලා ආඩම්බරයක් නැහැ නේ.
So then Lokam asked me, are you kind of conceited because of your ball? And I said, not too much. So the nimitta discussed, that Lokam is going to discuss more about the nimitta problem. But it's nothing you can be proud about or things like that, because if you have something and you are proud about that, that means it's not the real nimitta.
ඒක තමයි මේ පුරුදු එක්කෙනා ලබාගත් එක්කෙනාගේ ජීවිත රටාව අලුත් දෙයක් නෑ යාට.
So the person that has trained and practice up to this level, there is like no new element introduced into his way of living. No, because he practiced and lived his life like as a practicing person, up to this level, this thing is already there.
Yeah.
So that's it.
ඒ නිමිත්ත හරියට තියෙනවා නම් මේ කරුණු පහකින් වත් ඉතින් පංචාංගික ධර්ම කාවිත බෞද්ධ කරනවා. කරුණු පහකින් පුළු. ඒ කරුණු පහ නිමිත්තෙන් කරුණු පහක් කරුණු වැඩ පහක් ගන්න පුළුවන්.
So අර කියන ඥාන හතර අර පස්වෙනි කතාව.
පස්වෙනි කතාවක් තියෙනවා. පස්වෙනි කතාවෙන් පස්සේ. පස්වෙනි කතාව තමයි. පස්වෙනි කතාවේ දැන් එක දැන් ඒ නිමිත්ත පුරුදු වෙලා නැතිනම් ඔක්කොම හරිනේ. ඒකෙන් තියෙන බවක් ගන්න නැති බවක් කතාවක් නැහැ. ඉතින් පස්සේ ඒකෙන් මේ තමුන්ට වමනා කරන දෙයක් කතේ නිමිත්ත යොදවන්න පුළුවන් ඕන වෙලාවක.
So anyway, Lokam saying that this practice nimitta, mehe nimitta කියන අරමුණ කමක් නේ. Sometimes Lokam says this, we should think about the nimitta is just the meditation object itself. If you want to have a little bit idea what the talk is about. So if it's practiced and developed up to this level, then the yogi can use it for all kind of like extra direct information.
Yeah.
That should be enough for that.
සම්මාසන සූත්‍රයේ මේ අයෝතනි කයිකේති.
So then there is this Sammasana Sutta from Samyutta Nikaya. So that is Anil, the sammasana, what was that like comprehension? So this is Sutta, the Sammasana is usually translated comprehension. It's in Samyutta Nikaya in the second book, that is the book on causation, and it is probably Sutta number 66, I would guess, around that.
Oh, Jaraman, එතකොට ජරාමරණ දුක ලෝපදිත ඒ දුක මග්නිතා කුමක් නියත කොට ඇත්තේ නිදාන කොට නිදානය කියලා කියන්නේ දැන් අපි කියන්නේ දැන් මට වස්තුවක් නිදානයක් දැන් විනිතර ලොකු බැංකු ගිණුමක් තියෙනවා කියලා ඒ වගේ මේ කුමක් නිදාන කොට ඇත්තේ බෑ
What is in Amaru Valley?
අනිත් කියන්න බලන්න.
No, because I don't know why the kotta is there, because kotta normally means like
දැන් මං අනිත් කියන්නේ
කුමක් නිදාන කොට ඇත්තේද?
දැන් මොකද්ද මේ ජරාමරණ?
Kota means what has he?
The base.
What has he made of it?
Okay.
Kota here means make something out of something.
Okay.
So what
So
is it that he has? Nidana, you know.
Yes.
So what has been made a nidana in order for this to happen? For Jaravan.
Oh, so anyway, so there is the birth and death in the world, and suffering connected with that. So it's there are some specific things that need to be considered. So one is the nidana. Nidana mehe kiyanne මොකද?
නිදාන කියන්නේ අයිති විච්ඡ දෙයක් තියෙන්නේ.
Oh.
දැන් විනීතගේ නිදානේ මොනවද? මේ දාත. විනීතගේ මේ දාවල අයිති. ඒ ගෙදරේ වනෙවිය. පැවිදිුණාට පස්සේ නිදාන තුනක් තියෙනවා.
හරි.
තුන් දිවුරයි පාත්තරේ.
So no, but normally it's like wealth or treasure or
Nidana
something.
is like treasure normally.
So what? But I don't. Then I.
Possession here in English, of course.
But still, I don't get. No, I know the word. What treasure made out of happens. So, but I don't know what that's.
Actually, what's the base of that? The sort of it's made. Like, what is the base? The foundation.
ධම්මලගේ කියන්නේ.
පොට්‍රෙෂර් කියන අර්ථය නෙමෙයි. නිදාන සංයුත්තේ කියලා තියෙනවා. සංයුත්තේ. අනිත් එක කොහොමද නිකාන්තු?
Yeah, but Nidana is not Dhyana, Mahaprana. Okay, so let's say Nidana means like basis. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the basis? How it happens?
කුමක් හත ගැනීම කොට ඇත්තේ මේක මොකක්ද හත ගන්න කියලා.
So what is it made of?
ජාති ජාති කොට ඇත්තේ.
How it is what is it produced kind of?
ප්‍රභව කොට ඇත්තේ.
Huh?
ප්‍රභව ඒක ධම්මලගේ කියන්නේ.
One is like born and produced.
ඔරිජින් කියන
ඊළඟ කුමක් නැති කල්ලි ජරාමරණ නැති වේද. ජරාමරණ නැති වෙන එක තමයි දැන් මෙතන අපිට ගන්න ඕනේ. ජරාමරණ නොවේ. ඒක ජරාමරණ මේ ජරාමරණ තියෙන්නේ මේ උපදී තියනවා නම් ජරාමරණ තියෙනවා.
So anyway, so these things, they are basically, I think the last 2 points, if I understand correctly, is something like that. At the time where the birth and death is there, how it is, or what is the things that are needed for that, and when it's not there, so what is needed. So for all of these things, so for all of these, the keyword in Pali is Upadi, translated as acquisitions in all the newer translations, but we can just simplify it as all kind of defilements. So because of all kind of defilements, all these things are happening or can happen. Without the defilements, they cannot happen. So this upadi or these defilements or acquisitions, they are kind of rooted in craving. And then all comes nothing where there is no birth and death, there is no defilements and there is no craving. So we have these sense bases which are needed for arising of different defilements. Appear rupa is
පිය රූපයක් ගන්නවා ධාතු රූපයක් හොඳ ලස්සනයි කියලා ගන්නවා හොඳයි ලස්සනයි කියලා
So out of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind, we take like endearing, nice and or pleasing object or something that like is considered as like.
තක්කුණු ලෝකේ පිය රූපං ධාතු රූපං තේසාතන්න උපජ්ජමාන නිවිතමාන ඒකේ තත්තාතන්න තෝතං ලෝකේ පිය රූප ධාතු රූප සංසාරේ චුට්ටක්
So then likewise for the ear, so because the ear is there and then that is like necessary condition for having these pleasant and endearing and nice sounds, and because of that craving and all kind of defilements can arise. So if you have good functional eye and ear, so Lokam says, of course these days he cannot think about himself that way too much. Because like with eyesight, he says he sees only like half. If he starts again seeing very clearly, it will be the end of him. So this human person or being does not avoid apprehending the objects taken through the eye as like pleasant, nice and whatnot.
हमने देखा मैं नित्य वाले फोटो कर रखो ऐड नित्य है पेन वास्तुअत नित्य है नहीं तो नित्य नित्य है हमें का मैं नित्य वाले इंसान फोटो कर रखी बोरुवटन में आने वाली चाहिए ये बोरु ये एक मुका कर बेला बरांडे पे अगर नित्य जानते थे हर वो मर्दान निकल हवेली वेली निकल
So anyway, we have that. No, not me. Like there is the tendency in most beings to take those objects. It's actually a like ingrained habit of taking those things as permanent or lasting, and so the eye itself is thought of and apprehend it as lasting, the objects of the eye, the sights, and the mind that knows about the objects, all these things are really considered or taken in as permanent. Of course, some people, having heard the Buddha's teachings or something like that, say, oh, this is the impermanent, this is the impermanent, but it's just a kind of, those are really empty words, because they are just saying that they are actually not at that level. So comes with many elderly people here in Sri Lanka, because nothing is working properly and everything is kind of going south, then they start saying like things like, oh, this is impermanent suffering, isn't it? So because I think like meaning it makes it more bearable to be with the things. The other thing they say, I have now let go of everything. But if so they say so anyway, so if something very like unimportant happens, they are very upset. Like typical example, then Lokohamdu's elder sister, few years back, she came here with some helping lady to do practicing, and when she came, she told Lokohamdu, now I have let go, relinquished everything, and nothing has any meaning for me. I am really full for the practice. After about 6 days or 1 week, she kind of was having kind of a bit upset face or not nice. And she started complaining to Lokohamdu. You see, now I have been here 6 days and not even one call from home. So then Lokohamdu said, but now you are saying this, but before you said you have relinquished everything and so on. So even if they say talk about anicca and relinquishment, is that it is happening. The thing is, the yogis that come to practice and see the real impermanence, they are sometimes so knowledgeable. Lokam says he doesn't know how to really get through to them, because they already know all about the anicca. They know more than him, and then sometimes they know more than the Buddha himself. So then what to do? But some minor thing happens, and then the talk about impermanence is finished, and they are all upset. But seeing the true impermanence, anicca, is quite difficult. So Kam says, because he talks about that all the time, he's kind of not so happy. I will use the strong word. He's kind of lazy to explain about that today. So it's what Lokam normally says, is again saying now, we usually, what we are caught up with and tricked by is this viparinama, or this gross change or transformation. But this helps us, this changing helps us. So if we consider, let's say, a 6 or 7 years old kid,
මේ වගේ ඉතින් අපිට විපරිණාමයෙන් තමයි මේ පුළුවන් වා දේවල් තේරුම් ගන්න. තේරුම් ගන්න.
laduru kata mata betul.
ලදරුවා කියවා අපිට තේරුම් ගන්න බෑ. එයා කතා කරන්න දන්නේ අතින් පයින් සම්පූර්ණ තේරුම් ගන්න බෑ.
Oh.
ඉතින් අපි අතින් පයින් තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ. එයා කිය ලොකු නම් පස්සේ එයාගේ ඔක්කොම තේරුම් ගන්න පුළුවන්.
So if I understand correctly, it's like with this small child, you cannot explain some things to him or her, because sometimes they, even especially if they are younger than that, they really don't understand properly. So they themselves cannot talk really. So just by even using like your hands and feet, you try to communicate somehow. So we are in the same situation.
පිළිදී අනිත්‍ය තේරුම් ගත්තොත් මේ අපි උගන්වන්න මේ ගමන ගිහින්.
If you really understand about impermanence, then that means you have already gone very far along the path of practice.
අනිත්‍යතෝ දුක්ඛතෝ.
So the other word, so I think on the table what it says basically, if you see or comprehend these objects in one 5 different kind of ways, the craving is increasing and other way it's decreasing. So first of this is permanence and impermanence. So the second one is like pleasure or comfort and dukkha.
දැන් අපි දුක්ඛතෝ කියලා හිතාගෙන ඉන්නේ. දැන් මගේ කකුල් දණෙන් දෙකම රිදෙන්නේ.
So when we say dukkhato, that means as suffering, let's say if we translate it literally. So people thinking about things or considering them as suffering means now comes pain in both of his knees, so that they consider things like that as seeing them as suffering. So then in order to get rid of that kind of suffering, you change your position. But still he has changed the position, but still the pleasantness or comfort did not arise in him. What still is more, he is getting more is really actually discomfort. So like with the impermanence, the true dukkha we really are not getting. And the non-self is the same or very similar.
අනිත්‍යයි දුකයි කියන එක සාමාන්‍ය ලෝකෙ මේ මිනිස්සු නිකන් හිතාගෙන ඉඳලා තියෙන එකකින් කරදර සංකටවලු එනවා ඒක මේ කැළපෙන්නේ නැහැ ගාලි නැහැ මේ එකක් ලෝකෙ ඉස්සරේ දැනුයි දෙම දෙකම ඉන්නවා දෙපැත්ත ඉස්සරේ දැනුයි වෙන දන්නේ හිතන්නේ. So
there's for the aspect of impermanence and suffering or unsatisfactoriness. Even before the Buddha and now there are people in the world that have nothing to do really with the Buddha's teachings, but they somehow get it and talk or think about the kind of unstable and impermanent nature of things and suffering nature of things.
But බුදුහාමුදුරන් කාලේ කියන්නේ සාස්ත්‍රවල ඔය සාස්ත්‍රවල අතර ඔය නිගණ්ඨනාතෙන් අධ්‍යා හොඳේ තියෙනවා.
So like in the Buddhas there were these famous prominent 6 teachers of like specific spiritual doctrines, let's say. So out of them Nigantha, he was the founder of the Jainist religion or kind of practice. So out of these 6, he was one that was kind of good.
දුක් නැති කරන්න එයා මේ දුක් විඳපු එක විතර යන්න ඒක වැරද්ද.
So his basically one ordinary problematic thing was according to his way of thinking and teaching, overcoming of the dukkha, the suffering happens by like on purpose experiencing suffering.
ඔව් ඒ වැරදි ක්‍රමයක් අනුගමනය වුණා.
So he kind of unfortunately for him he has fallen into this kind of wrong path in that.
ඒකත් තමයි දැනුත් ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒකමනේ යන්නේ.
But anyway, his followers are still very much available in the world and still trying to practice what is supposed to be his teachings. But if you go and see those, especially like like both, they have something like monks. So I asked, does he mean like the monks especially, or even the lay people? And he says both the ordained and unordained people. They are very kind of nice.
ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ඉන්නවනේ මේ නිගන්ඨ පුත්තේ කට්ටිය ඉන්නවනේ විදියට ඒගොල්ලෝ ළඟ ඇතුළු කරලා බලන්න ඕනේ.
So you need to really have first an experience, like go and live with them for some time, and you will see how nice they are.
ඔව් හරි හොඳයි.
Yeah, they are very good people.
ඉතින් අපිට ඒකයි දැන් අර දැන් බුදු දහමේම ඉන්දියාවේ නැහැ.
So also in the Buddha's teachings are really now available in India now.
ඒකයි හේතු. ඒකේ දුක් විඳින එක හරියගෙන ප්‍රතිපදාවක ඉන්නවා.
So if I understood correctly, like one reason why the Buddha's teachings are not there in India, because the Jainism was also kind of popular and people like the idea that you overcome suffering by suffering more. No, because they have the like what Lokam talks about, they have this idea like you have bad karma. If you experience bad things, is because of bad karma. So if you are like cause torture and bad things to yourself on purpose, you like exhaust the bad karma and then you are free. So
ඒගොල්ලෝ නෙමෙයි නිගණ්ඨනාථගේ නෙමෙයි නිගණ්ඨනාථගේ මේ ඒකේ තියෙන ඉතින් ඔය පන්දා තියෙනවා ලොකු වරමාල තියෙනවා ලොකු අය යන්නේ පොඩි අය යන්නේ ඉතින් අපිට කියන්නේ අපිට යන්න පුළුවන් අතුරු කරන්න පුළුවන් මොකද කරදරයක් නැහැ.
So if I understand correctly, it's also the supporters are not just common people. Very often the supporters are like rich and influential people, and it's still, even for us, we are allowed to go to their temples and something like monasteries, and so you can go and see for yourself. You might not see any difference if you go.
දුක් විඳින එක ලොකු දෙයක් ලොකු ශක්තියක් ඇති කරන එක ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ නිදහස කියන එක කොහොම ඒක ඇතුලේ තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ හිතන්නේ. දැන් දුක් විඳින එක දුක් විඳින්න තමයි නිදහස තියෙන්නේ.
So that's like so like they have this like experiencing suffering is the way for them. So like getting concentration and getting liberation happens by experiencing suffering, pain. So they also don't, some of, especially the ordained people, they don't use any robes, or one kind of them does not use robes, and they sleep without robes and things like that.
සීතල කාලේ තමයි බලන්න ඕනේ.
Huh?
සීත කාලේ
Oh.
සීත කාලේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට ගානක් නැහැ.
So comes as in the cold seasons, they kind of gather or something.
ඔව්. දැන් අපිට ඒක කරන්න බෑ.
We cannot do things like that.
ඉතින් ඒකේ මේ අනන්තතෝ කියන්නේ මේ බුදුහාඳෝ මේ වසඟේ පවතින ආරම්මන නැහැ කියන එක.
So now, why this talk was there, I think was to make point, they have something about suffering and impermanence, but the non-self is really not there available, or was not there available. So Lokam says, now the non-self really means there is no object that happens according to one's wishes or control.
අරමුණට දැන් අපේ කිසියම්ම දෙයක් සිතුම් බැතුම් දැන් ඔක්කොත් එක ඒවා දැන් මානසිකව දැන් හදා ගන්නවා කොහොම මේ අත්වදින් හදා ගන්නවා.
But whatever we do, even on the mind level, where we try to make some particular mind states or concomitants be happening, we are doing that with the notion of the self really.
තමුන්ගේ වත්තගේ පවතින ආරම්මනතිය තමුන්ගේ සිතිවිලි තමුන්ගේ සිත සිතිවිලි ඇයිසික මොනවද කියන බින්දි වේදනාගික එකකට මේ ආත්මයෙන් ගන්න බෑ ඒවන්නත් ඇදෙනවා.
So but the mind concomitants, feelings, that means like experiencings and objects of experience, none of these things should be and can be actually taken as my or me because they don't happen according to one's wishes.
දැන් මේ යෝගිය ඊයේ හොඳ සමාධියක් තිබුණා. ඊයේ හොඳ ඒකාග්‍රතාවයක් තිබුණා. අද නැහැ කියලා දාගෙන
So this is very often what the yogis describe. So if yes, let's say yesterday the meditation was good and concentration was strong, one pointedness was very strong. So today is somehow not happening. So and they have this inclination and wish and effort like to get that thing back and get into that state, make it arise again and things. Or it might be I had big understanding yesterday. And because of Vinita, Lokam, that big understanding, and because of Vinita it disappeared. But what that has to do with Vinita actually? So it's like nothing to do with Vinita, but if that happens, yogi usually or people have the tendency to think it was the other person's. So this is this way that these thoughts arise and minds arise in the yogis, very wrong way of thinking. And Lokam says he himself does not know how to correct that at all. So what to do? So the yogi needs to himself or herself one day understand that this is actually what is happening. So some yogis power cut දවසේ
ඔව්.
පාර මොකද
හ්ම්.
අද අමුතු නිශ්ශබ්දයි ඒක මොකක්ද
ඒකත් බෑ කියලා කියනවා.
So Lokam said, now the yogis come here to meditate, but some of them start leaving saying, oh, these birds here are so noisy. So other yogis say, these squirrels are so noisy. There are these dogs barking, this is too much, it should not be happening in a meditation center. Or there is this sound of this small child laughing or crying, this is not possible. So things like that. I even heard sometimes one day it was unusually quiet and somebody complained, it's so quiet, I cannot spare up. So then what to do about that? So there is one way how one can get that. So you have to develop this immaterial attainments, then you will be free from sound. So the fine material level jhanas, that is not enough to be free from sound. Oh. Oh.
රූපාවචර බ්‍රහ්ම ලෝකවල අපි කියමුකෝ මෙහි ඉඳලා ගියයි කියලා රූපාවචර ලෝකෙට
අර ලෝකෙ ගියාද?
ඔව් එහෙ ගිහින් නේද?
So now Lokams is like this fine material levels. So there are these Brahmas and sometimes they have Dhamma talks or Dhamma discussions. So if you go to that level, you might hear something which does not fit your idea, then again the problem is come. So if you get to the level of the sensual sphere, heavenly realms level, so then there are these different divine beings that can come and talk all kind of things, so then again you might be troubled. So unless Arupavachara had. So other than the immaterial attainments, and there is something that this sphere of the non-percipient beings, then everywhere you go, you get the sound. But for the Nibbana itself, Lokam says you need those, the eyes, ear, and so on. Oh. So let's say if there is a world where the senses are not functioning. Oh. If I understand correctly, like this, the Buddha never said you should get to a world where the senses are not there, or something like that. But no, the Buddha said use the senses and the objects there and see the three characteristics, and that's how you achieve Nibbana. So you need to really, really well understand, know about that.
Oh, I thought that came.
Arogit came.
අනිත්‍ය දුක්ඛ අනාත්ම තේරුම් ගන්න නිරෝගී මනසක් තියෙනවා.
So other two aspects are nirogi is arogi is like healthy or free from sickness, whereas kema is like safe or something like that.
Oh.
So Lokan says, now if you properly understand about impermanence, suffering and non-self, then you understand about the
Oh.
no, so anyway, so the mind gets kind of healthy when you get that understanding.
Oh, අරගෙන. කේමට.
Oh,
කේමයි කියන්නේ නිදහස් තැනක් කියලා හිතනවා. මේක රෝගයක් නැති තැනක් කියලා හිතනවා. මේ කේමතෝ ඉන්නේ නිදහස් තැනක් කියලා හිතනවා.
අර නේද ලොකහම් කිව්වා අර අනිච්ච දුක්ඛ අනාත්ම දැක්කොත් හිතේ
හරියනවා.
හරියනවා හැබැයි ඇතුලේ දන්නවා මේක තමයි කොහොම හරි රෝග තැන.
ඔව්.
Okay, so okay, the mind is kind of healthy, but even though it's healthy, it knows that the experience itself is unhealthy. And the last one, kema, means like safe, let's say safe place. So the actually there is like the world is not always senses and experience from the senses. It's not, there is no safe place really.
ඉතින් අපි අරමුණු ගන්නෙ නිත්‍යතෝ සුඛතෝ අත්තතෝ රෝගතෝ එතකොට තේමතෝ.
So we are taking the objects as permanent, pleasant or comfortable, self, free from, like healthy and safe.
ඔව් ඒක ගත්ත හැටි මේ කරුණා පවද්දති වෙනවා.
But if that happens, then the craving is growing.
අනිත් පැත්තට ගත්තාම
Whereas if you take the objects or the experience as impermanent suffering,
කරුණා පව
non-self, kind of sick nature and as a fearful, then or dangerous, then the craving is being abandoned.
කරුණා පජාති. කරුණා පජාති කියන්නේ නිත්‍යයි දුක්ඛ. නිත්‍යතෝ දුක්ඛතෝ අනත්තතෝ රෝගතෝ.
Okay, okay.
බය. ඉතින් මේවට හරි බයයි. මේ දැන් අනිත්‍ය වශයෙන් හිතන්නේ බයයි.
So most people have kind of fear. So like if you try to explain and make them think in like or apprehend experience as impermanent, they have kind of fear.
හිතන්න පුළුවන්. හිතෙනවා බයයි.
Oh. But some even like for some of them, even thinking about doing that is fearful. If they just happen to have this thought how things are impermanent, they get scared by that thought. Oh. So anyway, one day me and Lokoham do somewhere and saying, oh maybe today Malika is going to die. Huh? So then Lokoham said, no, she's not going today. No, going to die today. So then from when we were getting closer to see it as it really is, Lokoham turned that again to the lasting and permanent. So within short time it was turned again from the unsatisfactory suffering level, it was turned towards the comfortable and pleasant. So likewise, it was being appropriated as something to do with the self. So we are like that sometimes.
කලාතුරකින් තමයි නැත්තම් මේ නිත්‍යයි සුඛයි අත්තයි ඒ විදිහට තමයි හිතන්නේ. ඒ විදිහෙන් මුළු දවසේ වැඩිපුර ඒ විදිහට තමයි කල්පනා කරන්නේ.
But like
Kind of
here
body,
and there, rarely we get the thoughts where it is taken as impermanent suffering and so on. But if we consider like what we do in one day, typically, so most of the time, basically all of the time in the day.
කන බොන්න එකේ ටොයිලට් එක කියන්නේ ඉන්න ඔක්කොම එහෙමයි. කන බොන්න ඒවා
So like going to the eating, drinking, going to the toilet, whatnot, all of these things they are considered as this permanent, comfortable and so on.
මේ අනිත්‍ය දුක්ඛ වශයෙන් නෙමෙයි නිත්‍ය දුක්ඛ ආත්ම වශයෙන් තමයි.
So they are really taken with the permanent or permanence and or lastingness, comfort or pleasantness or happiness, self and so on.
හේතුවක් තියෙනවා මේකේ.
And there is a reason for that happening that way.
ඉතින් ඒ හේතුව කොයි වෙලාවකට හරි මේ හේතුව තේරුම් ගන්නෙම නැහැ. හේතුව තේරුම් ගත්තොත්
But we don't understand the cause for that. So if we one day manage to understand the cause.
ඒ අරමුණක් හැදෙන්නේ මම කියන මේ ආරම්භණයත් එක්කලා මම කියන පුජ්‍යලයත් එක්ක මම පුජ්‍යලෙත් නැති වුණත් කමන්නේ මම කියන මේ මම කියන එක මම තමයි.
So this object arises together with this me, or with the me object. So that is what is happening.
මම කියන පුජ්‍යල මේ අවිද්‍යාවත් එක්ක තමයි මිශ්‍රණය.
So this me is really something that is always mixed up with ignorance.
මම නැත්තම් අවිද්‍යාව නැහැ.
If there is no me, there is no ignorance.
ඒ මමත් එක්ක තියෙන නිසා තමයි ආරම්භන අර විදිහට නිත්‍යයි සුඛයි ආත්මයි කියලා ගන්න. මමත් එක්ක සමානයි.
Because all the time the objects are really arising together with this me, that's why they are considered or apprehended as permanent and so on.
බාහිරයකට ඇදෙන මගේ කියලා.
With the external things, Lokansis, it's the notion of belonging to me or mine.
මමයි මගේ කියන ආරම්භන දෙක මේකේ ජීවත් වෙනක මේ අල්ලගෙන ඉන්නක නිකම්ම මගේ අතරින්ද බෑ. දැන් ඔය නිකම්ම මගේ අතරින් හට්ට කියන භාවනා කරන ඕස්ට්‍රේලියාවේ වැඩි ඉන්නනේ ආලු. ඕස්ට්‍රේලියා වගේ රටවල මේ පිට රටවල බලයට අතරම මම ඉන්නේ. ඇත්තම මෙතන ඒකම නෙමෙයි බලයට අතරම මම ඉන්නේ. ඒ මම අතරනේ බලයට අතර බුයි තරයි.
So as long as we live normally, it's with the me and mine. So now when we come to practice, we try to kind of see that and stop that from happening or something like this. So now there are some yogis and lokamsas, especially foreigners, that forcefully like try to remove the me. But that is not really going to work out. And by lokamsas, this usually happens with some kind of anger. So let's say people get angry with, like there is a kind of conflict at home, and that can lead to things like that. So it's not that I have really relinquished the me, it's just that the other person is not happening to the way I want.
නිත්‍යයි කියන එක වැටහිලා නෙවෙයි.
There was no understanding of impermanence.
ඔව්. ඒ හිතනවා ඒක අනිත්‍ය වැටුණා කියලා.
But they might think they have understood the impermanence.
ඒක නමනාව වැටහිලා.
But the only thing that happens is kind of displeasure in the mind.
ඔව් දැන් නෝනත් එක්ක තරහා
So I
වෙලා
think Rakan is trying to describe like they think now they have understood impermanence or like non-self, but what is actually functioning in the mind is not really relinquishing of anything, but kind of displeasure. So some, let's say a husband and wife get into argument, and then the husband is upset with the wife.
ඔව්. මාත් එක්ක තරහා වෙලා භාවනා.
So, huh?
මාත් එක්ක ඒක භාවනා.
Or the wife is angry with the husband and comes for meditation.
අනිත්‍ය කියන්නේ.
And so sitting saying impermanent suffering nonsense.
ඒවත් ඒ වගේ.
And then may there be happiness and comfort.
මොනවා කන්නේ?
And freedom from illness.
දැන් ඔබට නේගිරි දෙයක් නැහැ.
And nothing happened with that lady in this example at all. It's just she's only just she's sitting and saying these things.
දැන් ඉතින් ආයේ තවත් දෙක තුනක් ගිහලා හරියන්නේ.
After 2 or 3 days, now she becomes a bit okay.
එහෙම එකක් නෙවෙයි මේක. ඔය කියන විදිහව නෙවෙයි.
So these things like that happen, but what Lokam was talking about before is something different.
ඔව්. අනිත්‍ය නම් ලෝකේ ඒදී අනිත්‍යම තමයි. ලෝකේ අනිත්‍ය දෙයක් නම් අනිත්‍යම තමයි. ඒක නිත්‍ය කරන්න බෑ මොන ක්‍රමයකවත්.
So if I understand correctly, it's something like this. When the real impermanence in the world is seen, then there is no opportunity for anything to be permanent at all.
ඔව් මේ අනිත්‍ය දේවල් එක්කලා ලෝකේ එකතු වූ දෙයක් තියෙනවා.
So then there are things that are there together with the impermanence things.
ඔව්. ඒක තමයි මේ අනිත්‍ය එකතු එක්ක එකතු වෙච්ච එක තමයි මේ දුක කියන්නේ.
So this thing that is there together with the impermanence is the dukkha.
දුකේ එකතු වෙච්ච එක කරනා තමයි මේ අත්ත කියන එක. අනාත්ත.
So the thing that gets together with impermanence and like anicca and dukkha is anatta or the non-self.
ඔය අනාත්ත කියන එක තමයි අපිට වැටෙන්නේ නැත්තේ.
So this is the non-self is something we are not getting.
අර නිකන් සාමාන්‍ය වචන හරි තේරෙන්නේ.
So is the impermanence and suffering at least to certain extent, and at least on the like level of the like the verbal understanding of the words we might be getting
නිත්‍ය
that.
කියලා ගත්තොත් ආරම්භනේ සුඛයි කියලා අනිවාර්යෙන්ම ගන්නවා. නිත්‍යයි කියලා ගත්තොත්
Oh,
ආරම්භනේ
oh.
අනිවාර්යෙන්ම සුඛයි කියලා ගන්නවා වෙන්නේ. ඒක වැරදින්නෙම නැහැ. දැන් අනිත්‍යයි කියලා අරුණක් අපි නිත්‍යයි කියලා අරුණක්
So,
ගත්තොත්
oh, hi.
නිත්‍ය අරමුණේ තියෙන්නම සුඛයි කියන චින්තන රටාව තමයි.
So Lokam is now saying that when things are taken as permanent, definitively they are taken as pleasant.
ඔය මම කියන අත්ත කියන මම තමයි කියන්නේ. අත්ත කියලා කියන්නේ
So this self mentioned as the opposite of non-self is the me.
ඔව් නේද? ඒතකොට ඉතින් හරි. මමයි නැත්නම් මගේ.
So either me or mine or belonging to me.
මගේ කියන්නේ මේක නෙවෙයි. මෙන්න පොත් මගේ.
So it's not like about things. So it's like this nail is mine.
ගත්ත මගේ.
Teeth are mine. or belonging to me.
දැන් මේ පොත්ත මගේ නැති
So that's, as was said, let's say this knee, sorry, the nail is mine.
මගෙන් අයින් වෙච්ච ඇති මේ පොත්ත ගලට හැප්පිලා
Oh,
මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ?
so then if you kind of like, knock against stone or something and part of the nail is broken off, what happened now?
අන්න මම මතුන කරම කියලා.
So what happened is in that occasion, that's the occasion when the I very strongly arises.
මගේදී අයින් වුණා විතරයි මම මාත්
So it is really when this my thing is being like destroyed or being lost, or in the process of losing something belonging to me, when this me and mine are really surfacing.
මම හොඳට ඉන්නවා මගේ දත ගැක්කුමයි.
So I just stay without trouble, then suddenly toothache starts acting up.
මගේ කියන එක දැන් අමතක කරලා ඉන්නේ.
Oh,
මගේ කියන එක අමතක කරලා
oh.
මම කියන එකේ ඉන්න.
I stay haven't forgotten really about my things. The me notion is just staying happily.
මගේ දත ගැක්කුමයි ඉතින්.
But then suddenly my teeth are painful.
මගේ අයින් කරලා ගිහලා දතර මාතේ ගිහුවා ඉන්ජෙක්ෂන් එක හන්දා.
But now that's again the, so then you want to do something about it, so you go to the doctor, then get like anesthesize, and they maybe pull out the tooth.
දැන් මගේ අයින් වුණා. මගේ කැලලා
So then piece of me that was belonging to me has been now removed.
දැන් මේ ඉරගේ මගේනේ ඉරගේ සත්සන්ද තියෙන්නේ.
Let's say there is somebody that has nice hair.
තිය පිටුන.
Hey?
තිය පිටුන.
Picture of who?
ඉන්ද්‍ර තවල.
So anyway, so this person with nice hair somehow the hair gets caught in flames and is burned.
මගේ එළියට
So again, that's the occasion where the my thing has really surfaced.
මමයි මගේ දෙන්න එකට ජීවත් වෙන්නේ.
But is this I and my we live together with
ඒ
it.
මගේ කියන එකෙන් මගේ කියන තයින් වෙන වෙලාවට මම තනි වෙච්චාම දුක හට ගන්නවා.
So it is, if I understand correctly, something like this. It is when this notion of me is getting to be alone because some other thing that was considered as mine is now being lost. When the suffering starts arising.
ඉතින් දුක හට ගන්නේ
Until that time that the suffering or conscience does not arise.
අතගත්ත දුක මගේ.
So the reason suffering is my also.
මේක තමයි ජීවත් වෙනකොට තියෙන මේ විකෘතිය මානසික විකෘතිය.
So this is like that, like it is in this way that in the living there is this kind of mind aberration working in that way.
ඉතින් මේ මට අයිති නැති කොටස් ටිකක් තියෙනවා.
So there are things that really have nothing to do with me.
ඒ දේනවා මගේ.
Hmm.
හැබැයි මොනවා ඔය කැලක් දානුනාමදී.
So they are all my things, even though they have nothing to do with the me and me.
දැන් සොත්තර මාර්ගයේ කියලා
Oh,
කැලක් ගලන් දාන්න පුළුවන්.
oh,
කල්ල ගන්න හැටල කැලක්
oh.
බඩවැලකෝ පෙන හැලකෝ මොකක්ද අයින් කරපෙල මම කියන්නේ ඒක මම කියන්නේ කොහොමද මේ මම කියන්නේ මේ බැඳිලා තියෙනකන් විතර.
So let's say like parts of the body they can be transplanted. So what Lokam's trying to making the point where if you offer some of your parts for transplantation, at the point where they Lokam says always when there is the connection with the me, when it's considered as mine, but when once this connection is severed, then it's no longer considered that way.
මගේ කේකනවාග කාමුරනේ දැන් මෙතන තියෙන දැන් මම පෙර ගන්නවා දැන් මගේ නයිම.
So now Lokam had something in his throat, let's say he spat out this kind of phlegm. So then again the same situation, now this part that was part of him was now So then with like physical things like the spit, do you then try to take those things and put them back in the same way they were before or no? So like with the spit, you would not even touch it with your hand, not to say put it back in your mouth. Oh. All the way going to the toilet, part of you carry, there is one part that is part of you. After going back from the toilet, that part is already no longer part of you. Things like So then later on you don't want to even touch. So Lokam says very small kids, they are more developed than us because they have no trouble playing with shit anyway. Or maybe even spit or these things.
මම කියන වෙලාවේ මගේ කියන එකයි මෙයා බහිද්දෙත් තියෙන මානක තමයි.
So this me and mine is also something to do with the external, but it's within our own experience.
නිතරම බහිද්දේ තණ්හාවත් එක්ක ගෙතිලා තියෙන්නේ.
So Lokam says with this external thing, always this craving is like there, connected there.
තමුන්ගේ මේ කැලි බෑනේ ඔක්කොම තියෙනවනේ. මම කියන පුද්ගලයාත් එක්ක ගෙතිලා. මගේ කියන පුද්ගලයාත් එක්ක ගෙවිතිලා. මම කියන පුද්ගලයා බලාගෙන ඉන්නවා. මම කියන එක්කෙනා අවිද්‍යාව එක්ක ගෙතිච්ච එක්කෙනා.
So there is this notion of me which is something to do with the ignorance.
මගේ කියන එක්කෙනා ඉදලම තණ්හාවත් එක්ක ගෙතිච්ච.
The mind is always connected to do with the craving. So it's like we cannot catch a break where we are free from these two. So that's why the Buddha says something like don't consider that as lasting or permanent, but as impermanent. Don't consider that as comfortable or pleasant, but as dukkha or unsatisfactory or painful. Don't consider it in terms of self, but as non-self. Don't consider it as healthy, but as sick. And don't consider it as a safe place or safe thing, but as dangerous or fearful. Most of these have to do with craving. So in one, considering taking things in one way increases craving or makes it. And the other one abandons the craving. So anyway, maybe one.
Okay.